All right, it's the battle of the rigs today. Today we got the EasyRig versus the ReadyRig. And most importantly, we're pairing them up here with a gimbal. Let's see if any of these things can help us get rid of that fourth axis movement and get the shots we're looking for. So I've got an upcoming shoot and I thought I would share with you some of the results that I'm getting on there and make a video about it. Now, what I needed to know was I'm going to be on a set all day. I'll be using a gimbal, but more importantly, I'll be on a set with a crew, producers, directors, everything like that. And that means I need a bigger gimbal that I can put wireless follow focuses on. I can put wireless monitoring. I need everything on here. And that is why I have this. This is my tilted cage that I have for the RS2. Now, the great thing about this is this works great for the RS3, and I absolutely love this because this comes from my old background of starting on the Ronin 1. I happen to love having a gimbal that I can have double control like this and just really lock in. But because of that, the need for a rig is an absolutely critical component because a rig lets you concentrate on your movement, on your shots, and not your arms getting all tired as you go. And what's great about this, even on this ReadyRig, I can take my arms off and it just stays on its own. It's really, really great. Now I have two systems. I have a ReadyRig and an EasyRig, and I got this EasyRig Stabil. So what I want to do today is put these things on a test. I have Bob set up over there. We're going to do some movement tests. And what I want to see first off is which one of these will allow me to go in tandem with this Ronin RS2 and minimize the fourth axis as much as possible. In a dream world, I would love to get rid of the fourth axis altogether, but I don't have a Ronin 4D. So this is a test to see which one of these can actually do it for me better. So let's go ahead, go on there. One note about this, just so you know, this is a Canon R5C. No stabilization, no digital stabilization. What you're going to see is straight up the motors of the gimbal and the rigs that are going on. So let's go ahead and start off with a handheld shot and get going. Okay, and so here I am. I'm going to start off first with a handheld test. What I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead. I've got Bob over there on the wall. And the most important thing is I'm shooting this at 24 frames a second, no body stabilization. This is going to be purely what the gimbal and the rigs do. That's going to be important. The other thing that you notice is I've got a lot of straight lines on my garage. So I'm going to be using those straight lines to sort of, as a guide to sort of reference how each of these do. So we'll start off first with a handheld test, then get the ReadyRig, and then get the Stabil. Now, I thought it was important when you're looking here at the handheld footage, you can see me coming in, and you can kind of see here a little of the telltale movement in the fourth axis as I'm coming in. I'm trying to be somewhat careful, but I thought this is a pretty realistic way of handling it. If you're doing a complex motion, you're not going to have a perfect stance and everything. And so this is a good baseline to kind of see how the handheld footage hands up. All right, so here I am with the ReadyRig system. I love the system. As you can see, I can get my hands completely free. I have a great range of movement on the product. It feels very organic. It's very nice. One thing about the ReadyRig that's interesting is it does have these little handles here have kind of like a bungee type thing. And in the back, there's actually some bungee type cords. And in the back, there's some bungee type cords as well. So it should give me a little bit of flow there on this fourth axis. So let's go ahead and do a test and see what this looks like. Now, when I come here to the ReadyRig, you know, first off, it's much more comfortable to operate, much easier to control. But that being said, you can still see a lot of motion being transferred here into the actual movement, which is one of those things that while this is super comfortable, it comes in. So as a ReadyRig, you can kind of see it's much easier to operate, it's much more comfortable to operate, but if you're doing complex moves, it doesn't completely remove the motion. Okay, and now I'm here with the EasyRig Stabil to go in and get the shot. Now, one thing about this EasyRig Stabil that you need to understand, first off, this is very similar to a classic EasyRig Mini Max, which is one of my favorite pieces of equipment of all time. I absolutely love the fact that I can go all day with heavy things. As you can see, I have my arms free here, and it takes all the weight off my arms, puts them down here on my hips. It's very, very nice. Now, the other thing, if I step back here, you will see that the key to the Stabil is this. I'm looking at my monitor, but you can see this bar right here. It's actually got a second joint up here. Now, the key is, even with weight like this, you want that bar to be as horizontal as possible when you go, because that's supposed to take out as much of the bounce. And the reason for that, if you look in the back here, there is a giant spring. This is very, very similar to the technology that's in a Steadicam arm. And so in theory, this should take out a lot of that fourth axis bounce through the spring. Now, will it actually make a difference with the gimbal? Well, I guess there's only one way to go. Let's go ahead and check it and test this out, especially since we've already shot the ReadyRig. And now for the Stabilite, the EasyRig Stabilite, you know, you can really see, and what I really love about this one is, once again, like the ReadyRig, it makes it much, much easier to operate. But in my opinion, it makes a it smooths out a lot of the fourth axis. There's still fourth axis there, but it's much smoother, it's much more organic, and much, much more pleasing to operate. So you get the benefits of the ReadyRig as far as comfort, but you get a lot smoother shot. I was really impressed. But let's go ahead and take a look at these things side by side. Now that we were able to look at each of these things kind of individually, I thought the best way to compare them was to literally do a side-by-side comparison just to see how they go. So you can see the handheld, the EasyRig, and the ReadyRig here as it goes. And as you can see, I think it's very apparent when you look at these side-by-side just how much smoother the EasyRig Stabilite is than the others. I was actually really pleasantly surprised with that. I was actually a little bit surprised that I got that much movement in the ReadyRig, to be honest, looking at them. I feel like the EasyRig is much, much more organic, much smoother, really helps chill out the fourth axis there. Now, because I was comparing the rigs here, I also wanted to compare the EasyRig and the ReadyRig side by side without the handheld footage there as any kind of component. And I really think you can really just feel the difference here. I really think the EasyRig does a great job of smoothing out that fourth axis a lot more. I mean, I feel that, you know, you're in a situation where you can see just how much smoother it is. It really does it. So really the EasyRig Stabilite, I was actually super impressed when I brought it back. It doesn't completely remove the fourth axis, but it really smooths it out and makes it a lot more gentle and a lot more organic, which I was really, really happy to see. Okay, so there you go. And I gotta admit, I did have a lot of fun doing these tests, but I think at the end of the day, my final conclusion would have to be that the EasyRig Minimax with the Stabilite arm does a great job of chilling out that fourth axis if you're attaching it on a gimbal type system. And I think it's important, if I'm talking about this, choosing between a ReadyRig or the EasyRig in this situation, the EasyRig really does blow out a standard ReadyRig just because that Stabilite arm does bring a lot to the game. Now, all that being said, there is another version of the ReadyRig that I wasn't able to test, which is the ReadyRig with a Vega arm attachment. Now, it's not really an apples to apples comparison either, because the EasyRig Minimax comes in at $24.95. It's less than $2,500. Whereas if you get a ReadyRig with the Vega attachment, that can cost you well over $3,000, and if you get the Pro Arms, you can be looking at over $4,000. So they're very, very different systems, and I really think if you are using a system like the EasyRig Minimax, I can speak for experience, you can get the Tilt-A-Reg, an RS2 or an RS3, a red Komodo with all its accessories, and it can handle it. If you are someone that has like a big ReadyRig 2 or bigger cameras, then that might be sometime you need to consider the ReadyRig. But either way, I thought it was great seeing the access to this to us as filmmakers out there. And really, it's important to remember that both the ReadyRig and the EasyRig make your life so much more comfortable on set. But if you're thinking about getting one or the other, I would seriously consider an EasyRig, because an EasyRig not only allows you to do the gimbal stuff, but you can actually modify it and use it on a handheld and do handheld shots with the EasyRig. So the Stabilite is actually much more versatile than the ReadyRig, which needs the 2 points of contact. Anyway, guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned something on this. Please leave me any comments. I'd love to hear what you think about this. Yeah, go out there, leave me any questions if you have anything down below. And yeah, go out there, keep on shooting. Yeah, talk to you soon.